Well, good morning. Our guest for our stories this morning is Lori Jensen. And Lori's I'm gonna ask her to start with telling us a little bit about kind of where she grew up and what that town was like and how it impacted her and, her school and family, to kind of give us a sense of who she was as a youngster, okay?
Okay, I was born in Morrison, Illinois, which is a small town along the Mississippi River, up in the curve between Galena and the Quad Cities. I was the fourth child out of 7, 3 older brothers and 3 younger brothers. And so as the only girl, I was my mother's helper, and the boys were doing the farm work. Went to a one-room school until high school, and then was bused into town for the high school years. I loved school. My brothers, not so much. So in that way, I think I was different from them.
Mm-hmm.
And I had older cousins who were attending college, and it always sounded exciting to me when they would come home and talk about what they were doing and what they were aiming for. So they were probably my inspiration for deciding to go to college.
The 3 brothers who were older than you, any of them go to college?
No.
No, okay. So your interest in going was kind of a new event for your family?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So how did that go over?
I think quite well, actually. I knew that my parents did not have the money to send me to college, but I just always felt like somehow it was going to work. And I was able to get scholarships, and I got a work-study program in college. And so I was able, at that time it wasn't quite so expensive.
Right.
I was able to graduate and went into a teaching career, which lasted a whole whopping 4 years.
Okay.
And I had met Norm the first year that we were teaching together in the same school. And then after we married, they moved him to a different school, but in the process, he also took a year off and got a master's degree. And after that, he decided he wanted to get a PhD. So we moved from Omaha to Lincoln, Nebraska, had our first child, and Norm was in graduate school. And when he got a job, it was at Millikan. So that's how we ended up in Decatur.
Okay. So what did you teach?
I taught home economics.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned to me before we started here that the church involvement as a youngster and growing up was really a very strong part of your family life. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, in the farming community, most everyone had church affiliation that I knew. Mm-hmm. Our whole social life revolved around the church. I mean, we were at church on Sunday twice, and I had catechism all the while I was growing up. And then in high school, we had something called Girls League. I sang in the choir, and Christian fellowship for the youth. So we were at church a lot.
Yeah.
And at that time, Wednesday night was the dedicated church night.
Yeah.
No high school activities.
Right.
And of course, Sunday morning was sacred. That's changed dramatically.
Yeah, right. So how was moving to Decatur for you?
It was a good move. We were very welcomed into the Millikan community, and at that time, we had a lot of family activities, so you not only got to know the faculty, but you got to know the families.
Mm-hmm.
And when we first came, Norm thought he might stay a couple of years, and so here we still are. We've been retired from Millikan now since '99.
Yeah.
But when I came, well, actually when our oldest child was born, and Norm was in graduate school, I was a stay-at-home mom. And when we came to Decatur, we determined that we could probably afford to live on one income. So I was an at-home mom until our two kids were 15 and 10. And I was very heavily involved in volunteer activities. And then Norm said to me one day, if you're going to be gone all the time, you might as well be making money. And for braces and things like that, we needed it.
Yeah. So, when you came to Decatur, did you seek out the sort of the same style of church to attend, or?
No. By being involved with Norm when he was in graduate school, we met a lot of different people, and I had my eyes open to how some other people saw the world, and so my thoughts began to change. And I guess it was when we got married. He was a member of the Congregational Church when he grew up.
Mm-hmm.
But then he had dated a Lutheran minister's daughter for a while, and so he became Lutheran. And then when we got married, we attended different denominations when we were in graduate school, when he was in graduate school.
Yeah.
And we ended up in a Presbyterian church in northern Omaha, and then in Lincoln. So when we came here, we were looking at the Presbyterian churches.
Mm-hmm.
And we joined Woodland Chapel, and we were there about 5 years. And then we decided to move over here to First Pres.
Right. Yeah.
Yes, when we first joined Woodland Chapel, we were happy there, but the focus started to tend more and more conservative.
Mm-hmm.
And Norm told me one day, he said, we either need to change churches or I'm going to be a church dropout. And Bill Bodemer, who was teaching at Millikan at that time, would convince Norm to give First Pres a try.
Mm-hmm.
And from the first time we came, we just felt very welcome and involved.
Oh, that's good. So you've been here,
Since 1975.
wow, yeah.
I guess that then after we came here and I went to work, I got office work. I was not interested in going back into junior high teaching when I had a 15-year-old and a 10-year-old at home.
Yeah.
And also the whole focus in the home economic world was changing. And there were no full-time jobs anymore. And so because of volunteering I had done in a lot of different organizations, the director of the YWCA at that time helped me write a resume, and I was able to get some office work and started out in a tax accounting office and ended my career at Decatur Memorial in the computer department.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for being with us and for sharing your kind of life story with us, and really appreciate your taking the time.
Okay.